Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here to share my triple camera comparison between the Redmi Note 10 Pro, the Xiaomi Mi 11, and the Mi 10 Pro. Now, I may do a full in-depth comparison between these phones, but for now, we're in launch night, so if you haven't seen my full review of the Redmi Note 10 Pro, definitely go check it out. So the main reason why I wanted to compare the Redmi Note 10 Pro to what arguably are more expensive, more flagship devices is because we now have a 108 megapixel main camera on this phone, the first in the history of a Note series phone. We also have an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 5 megapixel telemacro, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor on this Redmi Note 10 Pro. But we also have a 108 megapixel main camera HM1 sensor, which should be the same one as on the Redmi Note 10 Pro in this Xiaomi Mi 11, including a 13 megapixel ultra wide and a 5 megapixel macro camera. And last but not least, we have the OG, the Mi 10 Pro, which was one of the earliest Xiaomi phones with this 108 megapixel main camera, but this also has a 12 megapixel 2x optical telephoto and an 8 megapixel OIS 3.7 times optical telephoto. And last but not least, a 20 megapixel ultra wide camera. The cameras on this Mi 10 Pro, even a year later, guys, are still legit. But the key purpose of this comparison is really to share, look how far we've come in 1 year's time. In March of 2020, we had the first Xiaomi 108 megapixel flagship, and now in 2021, we have the first Redmi Note series phone, one of the best selling and most affordable series of all Redmi phones, now having the same capability. And we have a 16 megapixel f2.5 versus 20 megapixel f2.2 versus 20 megapixel f2.0 on the Mi 10 Pro. All phones capable of shooting 4K 30, but the flagships are still capable of 4K 60 and 8K 30 FPS. And just being able to show you guys these camera modules very close, they are definitely from the same era versus the Mi 10 Pros, which are definitely looking a lot more antiquated. I quite like the camera module design on both the Mi 11 and the Redmi Note 10 Pro. It's a very distinct, very new 2021 look. But let's not waste any more time, and let me go ahead now and share my triple camera comparison between these phones. Will the Redmi Note 10 Pro be able to stand next to Xiaomi's current flagship phone and previous flagship champ? Let's have a look at the samples and talk about them when we get back. This is rear-facing video on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, the Xiaomi Mi 11, and the Mi 10 Pro. Here at the Shichu Center, beautiful building. And it's a pretty blustery day, pretty windy, but we have a little bit of sunlight today. The most sunlight we've had in the last week. Stabilization though looks very good on all these phones. But hit me up in the comments, what do you think? And this is front-facing video on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, the Xiaomi Mi 11, and the Mi 10 Pro. All shooting in full HD, and I would have loved 4K on the new generation of Xiaomi phones, but I guess we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. But looks pretty good on all these. Mi 11 definitely looks the brightest. And I definitely need a haircut before I complete this review. But listen to the mics, hear how they sound, and hit me up in the comments, what do you think? So what'd you guys think? Did the Redmi Note 10 Pro deliver the results, or was there still a separation between the Mi 11 and the Mi 10 Pro and this brand new affordable mid-range device? Guys, I think in the daytime shots and the nighttime shots, there were a lot of pleasing results on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. But I will say, once I pixel peeped, you definitely noticed there was a bit more detail being produced by phones like the Mi 11 and the Mi 10 Pro. And I think this is the case where the image signal processor of something like a Snapdragon 888 is just going to do a better job with the information that the sensor is receiving versus the Snapdragon 732G in this phone. Now the Mi 10 Pro, considering it's a year old, is still producing some excellent results, but it still does overexpose more than these two phones. Yet for telephoto shots, it's still unsurpassed and offers really nice bokeh when you're doing portrait shots as well. And in video, all these phones did a solid job, but I will give the edge here to the Xiaomi Mi 11. And the Mi 11's video quality and mic quality, I think, is still a step above what we're getting on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and it's definitely improved from what we saw on the Mi 10 Pro as well. And the Redmi Note 10 Pro did really well in front cameras, and the Mi 11 definitely crops in more on the front cameras, and it is noticeable. But all in all, guys, considering the price point, you need to give this Redmi Note 10 Pro some props. It is going against some seriously more expensive phones, and it is delivering results that maybe don't reach the level of the Mi 11 or Mi 10 Pro, but get pretty close. I still give the overall win here with the 108 megapixel main camera to the Mi 11, and for the more flexible camera shooting, the Mi 10 Pro takes the prize. But in terms of just pure value, there's no denying that this Redmi Note 10 Pro is bringing some serious camera chops to this price point, and just for that, its results in this triple camera comparison are very impressive. But hit me up in the comments. Which of these phones would you pick to win? And are you surprised that the Redmi Note 10 Pro was able to hang with these flagship phones? Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon for future updates. Thanks for watching all my Redmi Note 10 Pro videos today. Stay tuned for more great content coming with this phone. And go check out once again my full review of this Redmi Note 10 Pro if you haven't already. So that's it. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech, signing off. Have a good one.